Hello and welcome everyone. Today I'm going to talk about the fine tuning capability within Azure AI Foundry. So if we just spend a little bit of time to really differentiate between what is fine tuning and what is retraining, they are two significantly different activities. Fine tuning can be done with an existing pre-trained model like GPT or so. And then in the retraining, you actually uh, work with a model which has no knowledge. So it's kind of like requires a lot of data for retraining, extremely rich infrastructure because you have to do it for a long period of time. And then you have to keep on improving that before you can start using the thing. Whereas in the fine tuning, you can actually use a smaller data set and then use an existing GPT model and the infrastructure doesn't require a significantly high infrastructure. A smaller, lower infrastructure is more than enough. Sort of like a specialized adoption kind of thing, which narrows down the activity to a domain-specific responsibility. So, for example, if you are creating a bot for healthcare industry, so you kind of doing a fine tuning so that it understand what kind of responses it needs to make. Um, you basically have the core foundation in the fine tuning, and then on top of that you add layer, right? So it's kind of like adding layer on top of that. So let me show you how you can do that in the AI Foundry. So you log into ai.azure.com, go to your existing project, and then you find under build and customize something called fine tuning. If you come over here and then you click on fine tune, now it gives you an ability to select a model, right? So you need to select a GPT model. And if you see here, it supports the supervised fine tuning and DPO fine tuning. So there are direct preference and supervised fine tuning are possible. So like that, if you choose different model, depending on the model, you can see that only supervised fine tuning possible. GB3.5 Turbo only supervised. So it depends on which model you're gonna use, right? And then if you already have a fine-tuned model, you will be able to pick up from here. So I did it yesterday and I'll show you this. But if you need to begin, right? GPT-4o, and then you select this and then say next. Now what essentially it comes over here, it asks you a couple of things. First of all, what method you want to apply. It only supports supervised, so I'll select supervised. If I select something else which it doesn't support, it will give you an error. So you need to select. You need to know what it supports, right? And then it also tells you what is the base model. So along with the release date, you find the base model. So you select the base model to start with. Now, if you change this supervised to something like direct reference optimization, you see the base model list of base model changes. If you switch to the supervised, you have the longer list. And then if you select the last one, that is reinforcement, you probably have only one, that is O4 mini. So depending on what you want to do. So let's select the supervised, select GPT-4o, and then I say training standard or global. So what does that means? Standard means that data stays within the deployment region, right? And it doesn't leave the current resource region. And then once this training is over, do you want to deploy? So you can select, yes, I want to automatically deploy that into, so I just switch it off, and then you can add the training data. Now, when you add the training data, right, you can actually use some of these samples. So it gives you a couple of links. So let me click that chat data, and it takes you to one of the GitHub pages where there are few sample data available. So if you see here, the chat training CSV, so I just go to this, and then it talks about this JSON file. So if you open this file, you see that this is the JSON data for training, and it has got around 449 records, right? So you basically have a data with that. And then optionally, you can also use the validation data, right? That is chat validation JSON, which also has got something around 50 rows. So you essentially have got these two JSON files. So you download them from the GitHub for testing purpose, right? But when you actually do the fine tune, you have your own JSON. So we'll use these two files, okay? So if I go back and then say that I want to say upload the files, then I can upload the file from here, select the chat training.json and hit open because I did it earlier. So I'll say override if already exists. Now it's going to go ahead and upload this 319 KB file, and then I say apply. Okay. And then what happens, it asks me to add an optional validation data. This is an optional field. Now, if you want to add the validation data, let me upload the file from my local machine, which I already have downloaded. That's the validation file. And I say override. So it is only 34 KB file because it has only 50 JSON record. And I say yes. Now, both of these files are now uploaded to this AI Foundry's fine-tune window. I can enter the suffix here, seed, and all these things. And then you have a batch size of 1 to 32, which means that a batch size is kind of like a training set up to 32 records. It will send together and then it will proceed. So it's, you will see the log of the previously training. I use the same training JSON file to do the training. And if you hit submit, what happens is going to kickstart a training thing. So you can see that it is now showing as queue. If you go into that, it will show you the step-by-step progress. In fact, it is right now queued. If you go to the logs, you'll find that it will wait for the infrastructure to become ready because it's going to go ahead and need to set up GPU machines to do the fine tuning also. So it will keep showing you that. Now it takes a very long time. Okay. So let me go back to what I have done yesterday and show you those progress here. Now it shows complete. It was kind of initiated and it took around 2 hours 15 minutes to do the complete activity, right? And then you can see that there are 250,000 token has been used for this training. So if you use training, it also uses token, right? Because it's gonna use the existing GPT model and then fine tune it, right? So it's kind of that, that is the reason. Now, if I go to the logs first, you will see a bunch of logs. I will start from here. So this is what you will see for the one which I just now put. So it will say that prepare the training file and then fine tune started, job queue waiting for the GPU to come, training started, and so on and so forth. And if you go move on, you'll find that it is first going to do the step number 80, 90, 100, and so on and so forth. So the steps are happening here, right? So you can see a jump, right? And then at the end of it, let me just move on and then go to the end of it. It says the job succeeded, completed. You get a result file also, and the model evaluation passed, training token this much. Okay. So if you go back to the details, you'll find the result is available. So you can download it and look at it. You also have metrics, which talks about the model, this thing fine-tune metrics, right? Token accuracy, and so on and so forth. So you get quite a few data. And then if you go into the checkpoint, there are some checkpoints created. Just in case it fails, it'll take the execution from this checkpoint. So this is what the fine tune does. It takes long time. So the one which I just now have created, so it's still in the queue. So I can go here and then I say cancel because I don't want to spend on token. So I'll say confirm, and it's gonna go ahead and then should cancel this, then canceled. So nothing should now be happening at this point in time. It must show me that it is canceled. It's actually canceled now. What I can do now, I can just click on this. Hopefully this is this still shows cancel. It's canceling. So it's in transition. Now, you can also, this is a generative AI fine tuning. You can also do an AI service fine tuning. So if you happen to use one of the existing Azure AI services like vision and language and all those things, so you can fine tune those models also, not just GPT models, but also those models. So this is about the fine tune, which allows you to kind of create a layer on top of an existing GPT and then say that, hey, I'm going to use you for this purpose. So I'm not going to